Definitely is an intense setup for a vid such as this, especially given how many views it's expected to accrue over time on YouTube. I'm doing what it takes to get these to print, right? We got the Lenovo laptop, gritty whiteboard stuff. So if you're watching the channel now, that totally means a lot because you really are in early on the magic. So thank you. Let's get started right now. Starbucks right now, 76.64 a share. We got an annual dividend of 164. That's been increasing over the years. We're not here to talk about Starbucks as a stock today. We're here to talk about International Coffee Company as an industry. So we're going to talk, I've broken it into two categories. We've got the coffee, we've got the people, the natural resources, and the human element. Let's go ahead and take a look at the coffee side. So, starting from the field, we grow the coffee, it's got to get moved, it's got to get sold somewhere, and then it's got to end up somewhere as far as some of the waste products. Each aspect of this little cycle right here, and we call it a cycle because what we put here on the earth is going to determine what kind of space we have available for the field. Nothing is infinite. The resource list, so we've got cups, dairy, fossil fuel, forest and vegetation, water, that's another one that's finite, despite the amount of blue you see on here, only around 3% on the earth is fresh water, and a lot of that's frozen too. Waste is the last one, so specifically not cups because that's trash, but I'm talking waste as far as things like pulp or excess food product. A little different than packaging. I appreciate the nuance if you're still playing ball with us. Okay. Cups, for example, it's something that the customer sees. So if you go and research ESG Starbucks online as far as their quality practices and their corporate citizenship, you'll hear about the efforts for waste reduction and green energy, and that's something that you see in the store. Now, really, where the bigger impacts are going to be, and kind of the broader point I'm getting at today, is that oftentimes the real story can be behind the curtain, right? And it is warm, and this is, well, middle of the summer, but this is a pumpkin spice latte theme if you hadn't realized yet. So, which 2 days ago, USA Today reported they're going to be bringing back. So if you missed the PSL, that's why we got the orange here, and that's why we got the orange here. So just so that's on your radar. Cups, that's going to be a major litter problem, but we don't know if it's going to be as big of a problem as dairy. Unbelievable if you read the statistics that the vegetarian community promotes online, and a lot of it can be pretty shocking as far as how much water is used by the dairy, how much waste is produced by the cows. CEO Kevin Johnson has remarked that I believe around 15 to 20% of cream-like orders involve non-dairy stuff. People just are going for the almond milk and they're asking for the alternatives. I personally prefer almond milk and smoothies. Try that one out. Forest, the way that the coffee is getting grown. So this one really relates to the field. A lot of the countries where the coffee is getting grown have more tropical climates that can correlate with biodiversity hotspots as far as the health of animals. And then for the health of plants, they can be cutting down forests in order to make room for this. There can be pesticides left behind. And in instances where there may be less government oversight or less citizen oversight because the people are so busy at the actual Java shop that they're not thinking about the broader concept of where the coffee comes from. So today isn't the fanboy thing on Starbucks. Maybe we can all look at local coffee so that we're not using as much fossil fuel in the vessel as it crosses the ocean. Today in the comment section, leave behind whether it's artisan coffee or maybe something with a nonprofit tilt or something where smaller growers, organic growers, have a more of an ownership interest. This is not about being a corporate shill. This is about understanding what's going on. Water in the store. That's another one of these. We're improving our storefronts, using less water, dishes, things like that. Again, lot bigger fish to fry on that particular topic. So that kind of wraps up the natural resources. They've got a big operation. recommended book for today would be Fast Food Nation by Eric Schlosser, which was assigned to me in a high school class. And he really does cover sort of the labor side, the environmental side of the fast food business, storefront stuff. There's some crime issues at different locations that he remarks on. And so that's just an interesting one to check out. Worker safety, which is what brings us to the people side. So in the store, one of the articles cited in the research paper that accompanies this video is part-time hours. There's something called the clopening, where someone will have to show up to work early for an opening. Coffee is desired around that time, but they also had to close the night before, so really brutal on the sleep. And this, it was in the New York Times, so I'm not the only one saying it. Part-time, there's different labor, I would say, considerations as far as benefits goes and what rights the worker has when they're part-time versus full-time. That's going to be more common in the store level. And so at what point are they treating their part-time employees the same as full-time? That's something that's, I would say, unique to something that's as customer-facing as Starbucks is. Speech. The employees, there's been recent news about wearing political statements on shirts or on masks and things like that. And it's a very valid question, one that's been litigated on a variety of different businesses. Clothing stores that have a certain theme, should an employee be able to dress a certain way? That's a big one. Access. So when we say access, we're talking, it could be ADA compliance. People need to be able to get inside the store safely, right? If you have accidents, things like that, that can lead to very bad press. So it's important that we make the space accommodating for everybody. Never forget that. The second point of access, and this is another one, big news the last couple of years, with the story about the gentlemen who were simply using the restroom and had the police called on them. Are people able to safely access the store space? Last, safety, and this one's more of a COVID-related one, as far as there's a food safety risk that's going to be in any type of these businesses. And so whereas more socially sensitive issues or environmental issues like the ones we talked about here get a lot of the sort of positive citizenship attention, it's also important that people aren't getting sick. Look back at the Chipotle scandal. E. coli. Corporate. Here's one. Remember, we talked about the dividend here. Part of why I chose to keep that on the board is because companies oftentimes will take this step to maintain that dividend. So the relationship between the shareholders and the other stakeholders, such as management or just mid-level employees. Second, we've got advertising. A bad advertisement can get a lot of negative attention, or poor advertising in general may not be able to keep up with these crowds. So you have to actively engage with some of these trends or with philanthropic pursuits. Tech ethics. So this one specifically applying to the app. Starbucks is actually making a huge play as far as ordering in advance, and the technology, them and McDonald's, becoming way more valuable as far as what they're able to do to facilitate orders. Obviously, that's become a lot more important on a year like this. Are they keeping the data secure, and are they keeping your stuff private? If you have any other ideas of how there could be a risk factor or duty that Starbucks has on tech ethics as far as the app, leave that one in the comments below. Let's hear from all the smart ones. Benefits. So over here, we talked about part-time. Can you sign up for the healthcare plan? I learned for baristas, I think what I saw was 90 days. If you end up applying, you'll want to check. Any employer for that matter. This one, we're talking less press as things you hear about barista wages, but we're talking things like you get a lawsuit because people's retirement plan was mismanaged, or a group health insurance plan has X factor or Y factor, and that stirs some type of conflict. The actual litigation that can happen from these, and the actual harm to the people who should be getting the benefits, frankly, that can be of a very high magnitude, despite not as much seeing it in the press. You get a different perspective if you read the insurance journal. Lastly, the issues. Who are they donating to as far as nonprofits and stop the press, maybe even political groups? Fast food, this one's actually a particularly interesting topic. So you've got Andy Puzder of the Hardee's brand going one direction, and you got Chick-fil-A over there, a couple of the pizza guys as well, and then Starbucks is a little more this way. So there's a lot to be considered as far as the corporate citizenship picture is concerned for Starbucks. And you'll notice it's not about the particular brand, it's about just kind of viewing things in a more simple manner and a more futuristic one, knowing, okay, what are people going to expect and how can we make sure that this one right here and these people right here, no matter which side they're on, how can we make sure that everybody's coming out on top? Have an awesome rest of the week and maybe even consider brewing coffee at home.